Good evening. We'll now call the business session of February 18th, 2020 to order at 6:01 p.m. Welcome to our guests. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted one 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you are here to speak and haven't filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary staff at the registration table outside the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to the Council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. When called to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Each speaker must limit comments to 3 minutes. If you are speaking on behalf of a group of 10 or more individuals present, please have those persons stand at the beginning of your comments, and you will be given 10 minutes to address the Council. Please note that if you stand in support of a person getting 10 minutes to speak, you will be forfeiting your right to speak on that item. For any person addressing the Council through the use of a translator, the speaking time will be doubled to accommodate the translation service. Now please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item of business is to consider and approve the minutes of the February 4th, 2020 council meeting. Are there any changes?
Nope.
Those will stand approved as written. I have one proclamation tonight, if Ann Harder would meet me at the podium. In honor of Ann Harder's retirement after years of service as an anchor at Channel 25 and as a community servant in so many ways. We appreciate all the wonderful service that you have given to our community.
Thank you.
I, Kyle Deaver, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, Texas, do hereby proclaim February 18, 2020 as Ann Harder Day in the city of Waco, and urge the people of Waco to join with the City Council, the city staff, and me in extending congratulations to Ann Harder on her retirement from 25 years with KXXV News Channel 25. Ann Harder is an award-winning journalist, and we recognize her many achievements and contributions, both as a journalist and a community leader. Among her honors, Ann has been given the Junior League of Waco EVA Award for Excellence in Volunteering, Distinguished Alumni of the Waco Independent School District, and the 2005 National Media Person of the Year for the Military Order of the Purple Heart. The Baylor University School of Music recently honored her as a recipient of Baylor University's Solid Gold Neighbor Award. We commend Ann Harder for an amazing career and extend best wishes for a happy retirement. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I thank the council for this amazing recognition. And as I told Mayor Deaver the other night, I just went to work every day. But it has been a pleasure for me to do work that I have loved, and to we never take it as anything other than an honor for people to invite us into their homes and the level of trust they give us to bring them news and information. But the opportunities I've had in the community have just been the joy of my heart, and I'm not retiring from that, so I'll still be around the community doing lots of things to help with this city of Waco that I love so dearly. Thank you.
All right, we have 13 public hearings tonight. The first is public hearing 2020-094.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plat. the preliminary plat of the Landreth Garden Addition Plan Unit Development. By a vote of 6-0, the Plan Commission recommended that subdivision plat be approved.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Were you finished?
I'm finished.
My card's up here. Are there any questions for staff? Are there questions for staff? All right, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this item? If you would, please give your name and address for the record.
Sure, that was a much shorter description than the previous one.
Wasn't ready for it.
Nate Landreth, 1408 Covington Drive, Woodway. Just here in support of this, I think we're finally seeing the final product. We're working with staff and we're just excited about it. We're really talking to builders and getting really excited about it. Since it's somewhat unrelated, but somewhat while we're here, I just want to make a point on the impact fees that are coming up. This whole time, 3 years, been working on this project, and it's been discussed that, hey, sure, go ahead and add on, there's that back property that we added to my original 8 acres. I would have been done with this by now, but it was kind of said by staff that probably it looks like if the prelim plat is done and approved, you'll be good. Now it's looking like you have 1 year to pull your permit to be exempt, or for the builders to pull their permit on any of the phases in it. And I know it's still getting kinked out, but just a little frustration because I did a study all the way to 4 miles of sanitary sewer to try to see what my impact was of this development on the city to assess any fees or upgrades I might need to do. So I kind of feel like if that happens, I'm kind of getting hit on the front end and the back end of this thing. So just, we're moving forward with it. Just try to keep that in your heads whenever that impact fee starts to come around. So thank y'all.
All right, any questions? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to tell Mr. Lander, thanks for, I know you had to come back here several times to get the final plat together, and I appreciate your commitment and the responsiveness to the neighborhood there too. I appreciate the cooperation.
Further discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes?
Aye.
Meek? Yes. Kennard? Yes. Sabido?
Yes.
Bearfield? Yes. Deaver?
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-095.
Mayor, before we start this case, public hearing 95 through 99 are all special permits recommended for approval that have the same findings. So I'd like to read those findings in the record first, and then we'll go through each one individually. The findings are that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it's located, that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics that any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception, and that available community facilities and services, including the road system, provided access to the proposed use are adequate for proposed use. So for case 95, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Mark and Elizabeth Ayers for a short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as lots 15A and 16, block 39 in the Dean Edition, known as 3201 Windsor Avenue. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings that I read in the record.
Okay, any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval?
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes? Meek?
Yes.
Kennard? Sabido? Yes. Bearfield? Yes. Deaver?
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-096.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Margaret Kane for a short-term rental type 2 in R1B zoning district on property described as lot 13, block K of the Avon Park Estates Edition, known as 6205 Sydney Drive. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting of a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
All right. Any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek. Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido. Fairfield.
yes,
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-097.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Debbie Rocket for short-term rental type 2 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 4, Block 1, the Southern Terrace addition known as 1918 LaPorte Drive. By a vote of 6-0, the Plan Commission recommended approval based on the findings required for granting of a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
All right. Any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Fairfield.
yes,
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-098.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Debbie Rocket for a short-term rental type 2 in R1B zoning district on property described as Lot 12, Block A of the Glendale addition, known as 2312 Glendale Drive. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting of a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
Any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
I'm afraid I didn't get that second.
Me.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard. Yes. Sabido.
Yes.
Fairfield.
yes,
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-099.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Bridge Community Holdings LLC for a short-term rental type 2 in R1B zoning district on property described as lots A2 and 3, Block 1 of the Belmont addition, known as 2124 Bosque Boulevard. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the findings required for granting a special permit per section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance.
Any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Fairfield.
yes,
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-100.
Yes, sir. Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Vision Quest National Limited for a transitional shelter 2 and O2 zoning district on property described as Lot C and D, Block 11 of the Riddle Addition, known as 1916 Sealy Avenue. We did receive a request from the applicant to continue this case for 60 days, which would be to your April 21st meeting. We would need to have a public hearing on that request first. If that's accepted, then we'll move along to the next case. If not, well, then we'll go through the case as normal.
Okay, are there any questions for staff?
Clint, I think it'd just be helpful for the people here to clarify what exactly the practical effect of a continuance means.
So this request would continue this hearing for 60 days until the April 21st City Council meeting. During that time, the applicant would have some time to work with, has requested time to work with the stakeholders and neighborhood groups that have been concerned about the request, and that is a request of the applicant.
Okay, any further questions for staff? Okay, I will open a public hearing on the question of whether to continue this this public hearing until the April 21st meeting. I have a number of cards here, but I think all of these cards are on the merits of the case, not on whether we should continue the case. So I will just ask if there is anyone here who would like to speak on the issue of whether to continue this public hearing until April 21st. If you would give your name and address when you get to the podium, please. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Otis Jackson. My address is 2925 Connemara Drive, Davidsonville, Maryland. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would like to add and read into the record, I'm here actually and representing the three groups of the consortium that's requesting the extension. We are requesting a continuance for 60 days regarding the February 18, 2020 Waco City Council's vote on the special use permit for 1916 Seeley Street. Our objective is to perform additional research and explore better options in regards to working with the community. The desire is to provide a solution that both the nearby neighbors and the city council will find beneficial. We believe that our justification for asking is that we started off and we came to the community, went into the neighborhoods, and met with a lot of the people in the neighborhood. We got 71 signatures from people who lived in the neighborhood. We thought that would be sufficient and also had applied for the special permit. And then we went to the meeting of the commission, and we had no idea that we were going to face as much opposition as we did. So after seeing the opposition, we thought we would ask for a continuance because we would actually like to take time and meet with those that we didn't meet when we were meeting in the community. And we would like to thoroughly explain what the program is all about, the positives, what the potential negatives are. We don't think there are any, but we would still like to discuss it with the community. And also work with the community, not only with that particular project, but also to do other investments in the community that will enhance and also work with to do things in the community. We also would like to take the time and meet with city officials, whoever we could meet with, and also explain the same thing. We believe we have a good project here. And not only that, we're willing to invest more in addition to what we're doing with that project in the community. So we dearly request a continuance so we'll have the opportunity, so the city will get to know us, the stakeholders will get to know us, and also we'll be able to work together on coming up with other investments in the community that would work.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on the issue of continuing this public hearing until April 21st?
Yes. My name is Annalie Looper. I live at 701 North 16th Street, Waco, Texas, 76707. And I'm the director of the Waco Office of American Gateways. We're a nonprofit immigration law firm. And I spoke at the Plan Commission, as did many community members, against this proposal and this facility coming here. The entire Plan Commission unanimously voted it down. So of course a supermajority is needed here to pass this issue. An extra 60 days isn't going to solve the issue that nobody in the community wants this facility here, especially East Waco residents. And as the gentleman before said, they did talk with folks in the community. Unfortunately, it sounds like they often didn't even use the name Vision Quest, the company that's even wanting to open this facility here, because a simple Google search shows that Vision Quest has a long history of human rights abuses. And so I think the community has made it clear we don't want this here. 60 days isn't going to solve that. And I ask that you don't approve a continuance.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on the issue of continuing this until April 21st?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I'm Judge James Lee, Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, McLennan County. I'm also here representing the Carver Neighborhood Association. I'm asking that you deny the applicant's request to postpone. One thing the applicant did not tell you as why, the reason why the community came out and opposed the initial request. He did not tell you that the initial applicant was not transparent in the efforts whenever he called me and told me who he was. He didn't want to tell me he was with Vision Quest because he knew that we were going to do our research. He did not tell you that the people that are representing Vision Quest tried to pull the wool over our heads and keep everything hidden until the day of this planning and zoning commission. He did not want you to know that they are not trustworthy, and that's the reason why the community came out. And in regards to the petition, our own second vice president We got a copy of it. He said he went out in the community. He did not want to tell you that he went around in our community telling everybody it's for the census, and I need you to sign this. I urge you, have this heard today. Vote this down today and send them back on their way.
Thank you. All right, please don't applaud. If you'd like to speak on the issue of continuance, please.
Hello, my name is Fatima Menendez. I'm an attorney with MALDEF, the Mexican American Legislative Defense and Educational Fund. I just drove in from San Antonio. That's where our office is. And I have testified against Vision Quest in Universal City in San Antonio, and I wish I could have been here for the Planning Commission hearing, but I was in another city. With the history that I know of Vision Quest through their presentations previously in Universal City and in San Antonio, it seems to me that the continuance is really so that they can do damage control. I don't see why there should be a continuance for them to have conversations whether they are going to present information that should be distributed to the public and should have already been distributed and presented to the public during the Planning Commission hearing, and why they should be having these conversations with city officials in private. That is the entire purpose of the hearing. So I don't see a substantial basis for them to be granted a continuance. I hope, because so many people are here, whether they are testifying in favor or in opposition, that you would allow all of us to testify today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the issue of the continuance?
Hi, my name is Grecia Chavira. I am a Waco ISD school teacher for bilingual students. I live at 2805 Colquitt Avenue. I've been living here since I was 8 years old. I ask that you do not grant their continuancy. A lot of people at the Waco Plan Commission voted against or spoke up against Vision Quest having this transfer facility here. The next 60 days isn't going to change the many, many decades of abuse that they have coming behind them that we are considering bringing into Waco. 60 days is only going to, it's only going to delay just putting an end to this, putting an end to bringing child detention to Waco. Vision Quest has a history of physical abuse, reporting incidents of sexual abuse for children and neglect. If we allow them to come into Waco, we are just gonna have that similar abuse happen on our watch. We don't wanna go from the rise that Waco is on for being known for good things to having this brought into our city. So I just ask that you don't grant them that continuance, just put an end to it now. We didn't want this a month ago when they came in and snuck into the Waco Plan Commission. We don't want this now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on the issue of the continuance?
My name's Taylor Stain, and address is 292 Lazy Acres Drive in Woodway. I would like to urge you all, as the people who have spoken before me, to not grant this continuance. I was here at the previous hearing, and the community opposition was extremely present, and it was very obvious. And I know for myself, I will keep coming to any hearing over and over again, and many of the people who spoke were here last time and will keep coming over and over again. And this is not something that is going to stop. The opposition's not going away despite what they say to us. And then the other thing is, people talked about how they didn't tell us they were Vision Quest before. I did some of my own research on that, and it's pretty easy to just look it up on Google. You'll see all the abuse that was mentioned. In addition, there have been cities that have approved these kind of shelters and have ended up in months of litigation with them. So I don't think that's anything any of us want, and just want to urge you to oppose it.
Thank you.
I think some of us who care about these unaccompanied minors as individuals have been shaken up ever since we heard that the Vision Quest proposal had come to Waco. I don't want to be scared that it's going to happen for another couple more months. I also, how do you come to provide a service to supposedly help immigrant children and not speak at all to the major immigration serving organizations here in Waco before you come. It's my understanding that some of the major advocates for immigrants and immigrant children didn't even know that they were going to be making a presentation to the Plan Commission until the very last minute. That does not say to me that Vision Quest is trying to be transparent, and that doesn't say to me that we don't need to be really worried for the next 2 months if we continue this. I think we just need to finish it now. Thank you.
Before you
Oh,
leave,
my
I didn't
name,
get
I'm
your
sorry,
name.
Meg Wallace, 700 Candlelight Drive, Woodway. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you wanting to speak on the issue of the continuance?
Yes.
Okay.
Eric Hobbs, 800 Calumet, Waco, second vice president of Carver Neighborhood Association. A continuance wouldn't change anything. I was able to meet with a representative from Vision Quest. And one of the questions I asked was, tell me about the security. His answer was the security would be cameras. So if a kid showed, or whoever it is, kid, female, whoever it is, that would be at this facility, showed any type of aggression, and that kid decided to escape, would the cameras go catch this kid and bring this kid back? What do we need to continue? And I'm going to ask a question. How many people in this room showed up in opposition? Please stand. That include the back wall. I don't think there's any much more we need to do. Why keep dragging this on? Please, taxpayers, please deny this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Shields, you're here to speak on the continuance.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm Sharon Shields. I reside at 124 Hidden Oaks Drive, Waco, Texas, 76705. And I'm here in my official capacity representing the La Vega Independent School District. I feel extremely ill-prepared to be here before you today, but because I was informed about this coming to council on Friday night through the Waco Trib's announcement, I felt like it is so important to our district and to our community that I not go to my board meeting tonight to be here to let you all know that we have received absolutely no communication regarding this particular proposal. And although it says in the information that they're going to provide their own educational services, we all understand that ultimately the responsibility for educating those children will fall on La Vega ISD. And I just want you to know that we don't have the resources, nor do I think the city of Waco or the greater Waco area have the resources to adequately address the needs that these children will have. And since I've learned of this, I've spent most of my time trying to research exactly what Vision Quest is. And just in that small amount of time, everything that I've found has not reflected positively on the track record of this particular entity here. So I hope we will be able to reach some type of resolution tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the issue of the continuance?
Hi, my name is Krista Eads. I reside at 321 Bowie Lane, Hewitt, Texas, 76643. I am urging a continuance because I came prepared today. We are, as American Gateways, we are one of the major players in this issue, and we haven't been acknowledged. We haven't been called once. But I came prepared to talk about Vision Quest. I came prepared to talk about this transitional shelter that's really a detention facility. I did my research. I have my highlights, I have my sticky notes, everything that I could hand to you guys today. But unfortunately, Vision Quest didn't. And these are the people that we were supposedly going to trust with 88 migrant children at a time, whose security system apparently consists of a camera. I strongly urge you to go ahead and deny this, to go ahead and put the last nail in the coffin on this issue, because Waco will keep showing up We will keep using our valuable time and our valuable resources. We are so happy to do it. So again, please, I urge you to deny this continuance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on the issue of the continuance?
Hi, my name is Amber Moses. I reside at 211 West Denison, Robinson, Texas. To be real honest, I am very ill-prepared on the matters of this, but being that I am ill-prepared, I would like to have time to learn more as a citizen, because that building has been unused for a long time, and it's capable, and then maybe this isn't the exact right use, or maybe we can come together as a community and address the security issues, address and make sure that the school system won't have to take on that. But I don't think 60 days of doing more homework and coming together and looking at different aspects and maybe helping children find a better transitional situation than they're in now would be horrible. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I don't know which way I would vote, but I don't think 60 days of doing more homework is improper.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on the issue of continuing this public hearing until April 21st? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion on the continuance?
Motion to deny the continuance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny the request for continuance. Is there any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, motion carries. The request for continuance is denied. So we will now open a public hearing for comments on the merits of this case. And we will first start with proponents. I have a number of cards.
Mayor, Clint needs to read them.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. We'll let Clint do his thing. Sorry.
Yes. Honorable Mayor, members of council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Vision Quest National Limited for a transitional shelter 2 in O2 zoning district on property described as lots C and D, Block 11, Riddle Edition, known as 1916 Sealy Avenue. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended disapproval of the request based on the following. That upon information received from the applicant regarding the proposed facility, substantial documentation has not been provided in order for the Plan Commission to make the following findings, which are required by Section 28-122 of the zoning ordinance to grant a special permit. 1, that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area which is located. And 3, the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics in the use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception. Pursuant to state law and the zoning ordinance, if the Plan Commission does not provide a favorable recommendation, it shall not be approved except by a 3/4 vote of all the members of the City Council. In this case, the Plan Commission recommended for disapproval. Therefore, a 3/4 City Council vote is required for approval of this request.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, now we will open a public hearing for comments on the merits of this case, and we will first hear from the proponents, the applicant, or anybody else in support of this. As I said, I've got a number of cards, but a number of them are not checked as to whether you are opposed or in favor of. From the comments, it appears that most are opposed. But I will first ask if the applicant or the applicant's representative would like to speak.
Thanks again. My name is Otis Jackson, 2925 Connie Merrow Drive, Davidsonville, Maryland. First, I would like to say, as far as the continuance, we were asking for it based on the fact that we knew it would be opposition just as it was this last time, the first time. We also understood that most of the people that came up and spoke against it still don't clearly understand what's going on. First, number one, Vision Quest do not have any charges against it for child child hurting children or anything of that nature. That's first of all. Misinformed on a lot of this. Number two, when it comes down to education, it will not at all have any strain on the school system here in Waco. It's transitional. We're looking to have these kids in here for 30, 60, 90 days, find whoever they belong to in this country, and if they do, and if not, then we will work to find permanent housing for them elsewhere. The facility we're trying to operate is 26,614 square feet. It would have 88 children in it that, like I said, will have no strain whatsoever on the city of Waco or no strain on the school system whatsoever. We've already done improvements on the building. The company that I work with has already put $500,000 worth of money in that facility. A facility we bought that was sitting here and has been sitting for years with no use. And right now, I have a facility that I'm unable to use because the community would not sit down, listen once again, and we could have met with every stakeholder in here today that got up and spoke against it. Every single one. That was the idea of doing it. In addition to that building, we had planned to sit down, and everyone that spoke tonight knew that too, that we wanted to invest more money in the community. We were also working to give up at least 3 acres of that property to do something in the community for the community. As far as the security issue, yes, we said we had cameras. It's already fenced in. We have 24-hour, round-the-clock people working there. Our concern would not be the concern of the kids getting out. Our concern would be of people going in and hurting the children. Company has been doing this for many, many years.
I'm sorry, you're out of time. You do only have 3 minutes. You'll have an opportunity for a brief rebuttal at the end.
Can I speak for the rest of the crew or
No.
the group? Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
So I can rebut at the end?
You'll have a
Thank you,
brief
Mr.
rebuttal at the
Mayor.
end. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of this item? Seeing no one, I have several cards that appear to be in opposition. The first is Taylor Sane. And then, is Taylor here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Eric Hobbs, if you will be ready to go next.
Hi, I'm Taylor Sane, address 292 Lazy Acres Drive in Woodway. Thinking about tonight, I did some research. I just wanted to read from some of the things I found from people who were inside Vision Quest facilities, things that they said about things that happened to them. So, to start with, we and our peers have experienced harsh treatment like restraints, broken ribs, and being burnt by a hair iron. These were in Vision Quest facilities. Trauma was caused that could push children to self-harm behaviors and other destructive behaviors. And that list goes on, as people stated during the opposition to the continuance. The other thing is, I mentioned a little bit earlier that cities have ended up in litigation with this company. Philadelphia is a really good example. When I looked into it, they spent months, almost a year, back and forth with Vision Quest about whether they could keep their facilities or not. In the end, Vision Quest won, but there's still going to be more going on. They're planning to appeal that. So I don't think that's good for the city to be going back and forth with an outside company. These are all people from outside of the community. And I think that's a big thing, too, that the man who just spoke, not even from this area, not even from Texas. So that's pretty much what I have to say, but I want to urge you to oppose this.
Thank you. Eric Hobbs, and then Fatina Ravindez, if you will be ready.
Eric Hobbs, 800 Calumet. Again, There's no need to continuing to delay this. You guys have a long agenda tonight. One thing he brought up was money coming into the community. Again, I spoke with Vision Quest. They said $16 and some change. I asked about the qualifications. One thing I was told, that if you had a high school diploma, you wouldn't be qualified. If you had a GED, you wouldn't qualify. If you had any type of record, you wouldn't qualify. I don't know what the qualifications. They've yet to tell us what the qualifications are. However, doesn't matter. We need to move forward. We still don't want Vision Quest in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fatima Menendez, and then Brandy Newton, you'll be next.
Hello, I'm Fatima Menendez. As I mentioned earlier, I am a legislative attorney for MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, a national civil rights law firm testifying against the permit request by Vision Quest, an out-of-state entity that is requesting to open and operate a for-profit immigrant children's detention facility. I urge the City of Waco to reject this permit request. Prior to my work with MALDEF, I worked as an immigration attorney representing detained children for 4 years. I visited my clients in this type of facility multiple times per week during those 4 years. The children are contained through various security measures, including tall fences, security cameras, and barred doors and windows. Although the children detained in these facilities are typically awaiting reunification with family members in the United States, the process can take months and years. During this time, the children are allowed a short phone call with a family member once a week and denied access to most activities that children need to continue to develop. I had several children attempt suicide while detained in this type of facility. Part of this can be attributed to the lack of sufficient mental health treatment available to these detained children. Vision Quest has a history of child abuse, both physical and verbal, by staff in their facilities. In 2017, Vision Quest closed a facility in Philadelphia after several staff members were shown to have physically abused detained children in their custody. This is a problem that persists throughout immigrant detention facilities, and the inability of detained immigrant children to be able to report this type of abuse to staff or family members allows this problem to occur many times off the radar. These facilities also curtail the mental development and educational advancement of detained children. This reality could worsen if the Trump administration is successful in its proposal to detain immigrant children for an indefinite amount of time. This plan, along with the president's recent announcement that he would seek to take away recreational and legal aid programs, as well as educational services for detained immigrant children, places them at an even greater risk. In addition to the detained children, this type of facility puts facility staff and surrounding residents at risk. Just 2 months ago, several reports revealed that the United States Customs and Border Patrol has blatantly refused to provide immigrant children in federal custody at the border flu vaccinations and other crucial medications. As a result, several children have died from the flu while in federal custody. This failure by the federal government makes this type of facility, where children, immigration officials, staff, and outside service providers must interact in close quarters, a risk to not only those inside, but those nearby and who interact with these individuals. This does not promote the public health, safety, or general welfare of the current and future Waco residents. MALDEF urges this City Council to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation to reject Vision Quest's permit request to open and operate a for-profit immigrant children detention center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Brandy Newton, followed by Sharon Shields.
Good evening. Address is 1717 Sealy. I'm actually a resident that's probably a block away from the facility, and I really disagree because Vision Quest, I've been there almost 20 years. I have not heard anything reached out to me as someone being a block away from the facility. I drive past that facility numerous times a day, and I actually know one of my close co-workers and neighbors that work for him, and he's being delayed even being paid for the services that he provides for the company at this time. So they speak about it being a transitional shelter. You know, we know that these young men are going to be coming in very troubled, already separated from their families, and so many things that they have to deal with, abuse, neglect, all kinds of things that they have to go with. And they're going to be, you know, having to resort to a neighborhood that already has high drug, alcohol, traffic, and all of that, and they're going to be exposed to that. The security, the fence that they say that's around the facility is just in the front. The back of the facility, they can walk through woods to get to a drug-infested hotel that's nearby. So it's not very, very secure at all. So I just want to definitely, you know, urge you guys, please vote no for this, because it's not going to bring the community any good for this.
Thank you. Dr. Shields, and then James Lee Jr. will be next.
Sharon Shields, 124 Hidden Oaks Drive, Waco, Texas, 76705. I'm here in my official capacity as Superintendent of Schools of La Vega ISD. Our student demographic makeup, we have over 90% of our students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. And with that, those students don't have the kinds of opportunities that students from more affluent households have. We are stressed and strained to the maximum, and I feel that we are not prepared to be able to take on this additional responsibility. No one has reached out to me to talk about this program, about this project, and we are not prepared to be able to take the responsibility, and regardless of what is said, ultimately, if something falls through, the responsibility will be on La Vega ISD. Thank you.
Thank you. Is James Lee Jr. Still here? Is he gone? All right. I have Meg Wallace, and Annalee Looper will be next after Meg Wallace. Is Meg Wallace here?
I already spoke on, I'm sorry, Meg Wallace, 700 Candlelight Drive, Woodway. I already spoke on the continuance question. Thank you for denying the continuance. And I'm very opposed to the idea of a company making profit off of supposedly taking care of these children without even speaking to immigrant advocates here in the city before bringing the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Annalee Looper, followed by Greg Chavira.
I'll keep this short. I know you all have lots ahead of you. As an immigration attorney and a native Wacoan, I say immigrant children are very welcome in my city, but not if they're housed by Vision Quest. And I think it's been clear from what others have said that they don't have a great track record. And detention centers are not a place for children. They use the label unaccompanied minors, but this term encompasses many things, including children that are separated from their parents at the border. And so creating more facilities like this allows the government to continue this process of separating parents and children, which I think is a horrendous process. And so I also, as a native Wacoan, say that feel it's very disrespectful to put another facility like this in East Waco, which is a community that is thriving and deserves respect, and not another institution like this. So I hope that you all deny this proposal.
Thank you. Ms. Chavira, obviously read your first name wrong earlier. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's Grecia. And thank you for denying the continuance. And I'm just here to say that we will not sit down and listen. We are going to stand up and speak up. The detained children are unable to speak up against abuse, so we're going to stand up and speak for them. Okay? As a teacher, it's my duty to speak up for any children. And as an immigrant, it's my privilege to stand up and speak up for immigrant children. So please deny their request.
Thank you. Sarah Beth Stodifus, and then Krista Eads will be next.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Beth Stoltzfus. I live at 4218 Timbercrest Lane, Waco, Texas. I'm here to speak against Vision Quest's request to be here in Waco. As many have shared, it's easy to Google search them and see all of their numerous abuses against children. And as a social worker who works with children and families, I know that children first and foremost belong with their families if that is at all possible. But if they are placed out of the home, they need to be free of abuse. And I also know that many of these children who have been separated from their families are at increased risk for mental health concerns and have experienced trauma and need even beyond the normal amount of care, which Vision Quest has been shown to not give. And as you can see, many are against this proposal, and I hope that you take our concerns into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Krista Eads, and then the last card I have is Cecil McDowell.
Hello again. I'm Krista Eads. I live at 321 Bowie Lane, Hewitt, Texas 76643. I am employed currently at American Gateways as a Department of Justice accredited representative to practice immigration law, and part of my perspective comes from there. I would like to shed a little bit of light on what happened at the last meeting. There were 7 who spoke in favor of this motion, and 5 of the 7 had an economic interest. They were all real estate investors. And then 1 was a misled individual who was not told that this was Vision Quest and was not advised to do a Google search before she came and spoke in favor, and another was on the board of Vision Quest. So I would consider all of them to be either biased or misled. So that was a concern, but then that kind of begged the question of why would people have an economic interest in helping these migrant children? And so I spoke a little bit in the last meeting about the numbers, about the money that these people are making, the real estate investors would be making. Vision Quest is currently millions of dollars in debt, or I'm sorry, they were in November 2019, and I haven't seen them have very many victories between then and now. So this is a proposed initiative that would allow them to recuperate some of that debt. So that's the main reason. But how would they recuperate the debt? They get multi-million-dollar federal grants, and where that money goes is around $700 per child per day they are given. And do they use $700 per child per day? No, they don't. It's around $30 that they use on those children. The rest goes to the real estate investors until they're back out. So I ask that you consider this when you're thinking about those who have spoken in favor. And consider also the fact that those people who did speak in favor, only 1 of them came back tonight. That's probably because of an economic decision, but that's pure speculation. I'm also concerned at how unknowledgeable they are about the children they would be housing. They haven't reached out to American Gateways. They haven't reached out to Greater Waco Legal Services. They haven't reached out to any of the nonprofit immigration service providers here in Waco. But housing 88 children who do not have documentation, who they believe have already attained refugee status, and they don't understand what refugee status means, is very concerning, and Waco doesn't have the capacity to serve that. So I urge you to deny this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecil McDowell.
Council, my name is Cecil McDowell at 2036 King Code Drive, Waco, Texas 76705. I, Cecil McDowell, in the Sharondale neighborhood and all the neighborhoods and all the older people in the neighborhood do not want this. They are saying to me, why don't you tell that council, that place way out there in the country, they could build a building cheaper by going in the country somewhere, going to Marlin. They got an empty school. VA got a VA hospital down there in Temple and Marlin. Go there. Put them students in, because we do not want this in the neighborhood. We got enough trouble trying to get our neighborhoods together now without somebody else coming in, making a few dollars, and as soon as this election is over, they might not even have the funds for it. So let us look at the long run. They looking at the short run. Oh, they'll be here for 6 months or 90 days. If they wrong, they don't know how long they're going to be here. But this is a thing that the city council need to look at closer, very close. Are they in your neighborhood? Where they at? East Waco. Put them in East Waco. Out of all the places these people could have found, they could have found a big factory out there on North Valley Mills, way out there somewhere, and put them kids there. Why did they want to come here? Why they want to mess up this neighborhood? Like I said before, they got enough juvenile detention, bad kids already. Why you keep building it up? So it's time for us to look at ourselves. Do I have one in my neighborhood? Oh, they trying to get there. In my neighborhood, I'm just a couple of miles away. If I get on the railroad track and I'll find them. But I'm telling you now, it is time for us to say no, no, no. If you want to make $100,000 a month what these people making, doing this stuff, it's always money under the table. But that ain't what it's about. It's about doing the right thing. And doing the right thing is put these kids out somewhere else. I don't even think they God-fearing people who run in the place. They ain't talking about it. They ain't talking about church. They ain't talking about how we going to do it, but they talking about all this education they going to get and how we going to stop them. They never stop. So think hard, very hard, so it don't be on your conscience in 10 years when the police department be running over there backwards and forwards, the fire department,
Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Thank you very much.
All right, I believe that's all the cards I have. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition to this item?
My name is Chandler Evans. I live in 300 Fannin Drive on Hewitt, Texas, 76643. My previous thing was, I was just going to talk about something not on the agenda, but now I'm talking about this. This is something that I would strongly oppose establishing in East Waco because it kind of shows the culture of the city council as like something that dumps the things that are, you know, not wanting to be seen in west of the river, kind of pushing eyesores off to the side towards East Waco and making it harder for the people of East Waco to live. And I want to know why Vision Quest would want to be established in East Waco where people are already just not in a good place, and this is not something that is beneficial to the people of East Waco. So I don't understand why this is going to be put to where it is already not benefiting people. There is like a bunch of other land that you could have put this facility, and I am all for shutting it down and removing it because this is a historical problem with the city always wanting to put stuff that is undesirable or makes East Waco harder to live in where it is already bad. So you need to like help the people and establish something that, you know, give them something that they can have like a tangible, like it just goes back to August when the city council shut down that store that was on Elm Avenue. Like it's the same thing. It's not going to make a difference. And the store was going to help the people because it was for lower income people. And this is not helping. So I don't understand why this is still up for grabs or whatever, or like this is being seriously considered by the city council. I just don't understand. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition to this item?
Hi, my name is Joyce Carpenter. My address is 1017 Walker Street here in Waco, and I do live right around the corner from Sealy. And I was here the last time, and I noticed that they were saying that they had got names and petition the people that approved of this. Not once no one knocked on my door, my neighbors, and I have some of the neighbors, people here, no one knocked on their door. So my thing is, where did you get these names from? And then also, I saw a lady the other day, she was saying, well, I saw you on TV. And I said, yeah, we were talking about the place on Sealy, and she stays like way across Waco Drive. So if they're getting those names, they're just going all over East Waco past where the area that this facility is at. So you're not reaching out to these people in this neighborhood. You're just grabbing people and put names on a list. But foremost, anyway, you're talking about these children. Like I said, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother of 16 children. A mother, you take a child from a mother, that's heartfelt. I would not want my child taken from me. You think about these children, what they are going through. They have been taken away from their families, and now you're talking about put them in a place, a facility where they're going to be fenced in without their parents. Never once this guy got up, he said anything about someone coming in to help these kids with their mental status. Nothing. I have not heard anything. That's something, these children are hurting, and you're talking about schooling. Yes, they're gonna need schooling, but they're also gonna need something else. They need something else to help them. They're gonna be thinking about their parents, they're hurting, and I've heard all this stuff about this abuse. We don't know what these people are doing to these children. These are babies. These are children. And we do not, Waco, we're growing, and we are really growing. I mean, I'm hearing it on CNN. Waco is really growing. We do not want this in our area, and we do not want this in our area where we're living. We have MHMRA. We have the Juvenile Center. We're dealing with people walking around in our neighborhood. We have little girls and little boys. We have street lights out. It's dark. Some of us, we're staying up watching the children, come home. My children are grown, but I do have grandchildren, but not in that area. But they do come. But other kids are in that area riding their bikes. Come on, guys. Buy back the facility. Put a park there. Do something for our children. Our children have to cross Waco Drive for a park. We have to drive across Heron to get to Cameron Park. Do something for us.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition to this item? If you could give your name and address, please.
Hello, good evening. James Fairchild, 4218 Timbercrest, Waco, 76705. I'm speaking in opposition to this. This seems like a very short-sighted investment. We know that children are our future, and are not a short-term investment. This past summer, there was a $4 billion emergency funding bill from Congress that funds these sort of things. So it seems short-sighted, just all the way around that there wasn't funding for this in the federal budget, which is operating at close to a $1 trillion deficit as the national debt approaches 23 trillion. When the funding is eventually pulled on these types of programs, I'm not sure who's going to be left holding the straws, but if it's not in Waco, it won't be us. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would, please give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rosie. I'm from North Waco, 250102. I want to be the voice of the immigrants. As one of them who has walked all the way to become a citizen, I can tell you, just as the founding father of Mexicans, Miguel Hidalgo, says, There is no time to be lost. Action must be taken, and this action is not helping. This action is not letting anyone to have the life that every human desire or actually need to have. There is another quote from Theodore Roosevelt who said, "It is hard to fail, but it's worse to never try again." You are in the authority and you are empowered to try again. And please do not let these centers to be here. We have so many programs, so many partnerships that it can come together and lend a helping hand and improve their life and move them forward. We need Waco to move forward, not to be a bad example of the ones in authority who has all they need to say no, not in my city, because as a human being and as a mother and as an immigrant, I know exactly what it takes to come to have a life. I once speak no English. I once has no job, but I'm here being the voice. Please consider, from the bottom of my heart, I ask you to use the power that you have been given. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition to this item? All right, the applicant will have time for a brief rebuttal if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and I'll keep it brief. Just as we anticipated that it would be a lot of opposition, just as we anticipated. But that's why we came back to the table again to say we wanted to meet with all of you this time around. And we wanted to put other opportunities on the table because we understood that the neighborhood and also Waco would look for other opportunities financially. So it wouldn't only be just this facility. It would be other investments. As a real estate investor, you said it, you're right, a lot of us are. I got approval from my other investors to come to do social and economic development investment plans here in Waco as a piggyback of this. That was the reason that we were asking for the extension, so we could work together with the community, hear your cry, work together with you to come up with programs ourselves, invest ourselves in Waco, and take some of the burden off of the city. One of the problems is now, with everything that we do, we reach out too much for the government. Now, I heard someone a few minutes ago to say, for the city to buy my company's building. The company owned the building. We pay taxes here, just like you do. We have to fix up that building. So we're interested in your community just like you are. And we have sat down and talked to Vision Quest. We completely understand who they are, what they do, and believe me, I have a complete understanding of what they do. I'm retired from the Department of Justice. I did 25 years with the United States government. I worked the border before. I've approved policy regarding immigrants, security, and everything else. All we were trying to do is invest in your community. And the other thing is, these kids, we will bend over backwards and do everything that we would do. Don't know I do know of the past of Vision Quest, don't think it was bad at all, but the bottom line is, the federal government constantly gives them contracts. If you believed everything on Google, do you actually believe that the government would constantly pay these people to protect these kids? The other to that is that these kids, these programs has been going on much longer than 3 years ago. The bottom line is, I look forward to doing something with that building in the community. And I hope that eventually we can do this type of program in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion to deny the special permit.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. So I will say, I've had the opportunity to meet with some of the representatives from Vision Quest and Miss Sophia that's sitting over there, very nice people. And my question to her and the team at that time was, me personally speaking, I'm all for development in our community. But I'm also in favor, more so I'm in favor for development for our community that's going to be a benefit to all. I understand that this project will bring money into our neighborhoods. I understand that it will create jobs, but at what cost? And I have to say that I am siding on the side of the people that are living in that neighborhood, that are working in the neighborhood, that have made the neighborhood their home. And I think not only has East Waco spoken, but I think the city of Waco has spoken. I think people from surrounding communities have spoken. And it is our due diligence as elected officials to represent our communities and to listen to the voices that are being spoken. And so that's why I'm not in favor of this project.
Further discussion?
So, as representative of this district, it is important to me to take into account the opinion and influence of the people we serve, the people I live with, the people we work with. When I met with the owners and members of Vision Quest, one of the things that I asked was, in purchasing this facility, what was the research done on just simply the address? Because this isn't the first time that a type of detention facility has come up and come before the community that was not supported at all. And it's not supported now. We have an opportunity. We are in a period of renaissance in District 1, East Waco specifically, and we have a responsibility to build and grow our community with the neighborhoods. We don't do things to the neighborhoods. We do it with the neighborhoods. And speaking with the neighborhood associations, and speaking with the bordering school districts, and speaking with and hearing from the immediate neighbors, it was clear that another detention facility in East Waco was not anybody's want. It does seem that, or what we would hope to avoid, let me clarify my statement, is that East Waco is not to be considered just a facility for detention. We deserve better. There are lots of things that could happen with that property, and economic development is our goal, because we want and will have thriving neighborhoods and communities full of businesses, full of recreation, full of parks, full of things that enhance our communities and build our neighborhoods to make better Waco. That's what we do here. And I think if we really had detailed, clear meetings with the neighborhoods and with the community leaders in advance of this day, we would know that. We would know that the addition of acreages for, parks or things, just an add-on, is not enough, and that we deserve more. And so I will not support this project at all.
Any further discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes?
Aye.
Meek? Yes. Kennard? Yes. Sabido?
Yes.
Bearfield?
Yes.
Deaver?
Yes, the motion carries. The application for the permit, special permit, is denied. I'll give you all about 3 minutes if those of you who are not here for anything else would like to step out. if you would step out as quickly as you can and have your conversations outside. Thank you.
You earned it. You deserve it. I'll let it slide. You don't see it, I'm trying to tell you. There's never a case where you won't need it. Always.
All right, our next public hearing is Public Hearing 2020-101.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as lots 9 and 10, Block 4, the Tinsley subdivision known as 1401 Franklin Avenue, shall be changed from C3 district classification to become and be designated into C4 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining that the meeting which is ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the zone change based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is in conformance with the land use component of the comprehensive plan and the Imagine Waco plan for Greater Downtown. 2, the existing public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in the C4 zoning. 3, the area has been transitioning from industrial uses to commercial uses, and there is C4 zoning in the vicinity of subject property.
Questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing for comments. We'll first hear from the applicant, and I have 3 cards that are checked as applicant or representative, so I'll let you all decide who wants to go first and who would like the, in addition to that, do the rebuttal at the end for the proponent. I have Lisa Monroe, Paige Goedeker, and Steve McLaughlin. All right, and any of you are welcome to go first.
I think that's the wrong public hearing.
Uh-oh, is that the right public hearing?
That's the wrong public, because hang on just a minute. Yeah, we've got the wrong number written down on. It's just me. It's just me. I'm sorry.
I should
All right,
be
101,
on that.
Steve McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, my name is Steve McLaughlin. I'm the owner and business operator of the property in question. And I'm just going to be here to address any questions you may have about the request.
Okay. Apologize for the confusion there. Are there any questions for this gentleman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval? Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Fairfield. Yes. Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-102.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from urban residential to medium-density residential office flex, and that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, and that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as lots 14, 15, 16, and A, Block 12, the Rennick Edition, property ID 187070, known as 304 Dallas Street, shall be changed from R1B district classification to become and be designated to 03 district classification, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 of Chapter 28 zoning of said code, and that the zoning map shall be changed at certain property to describe as lots 4 through 10, 13 through 17, and 21 Block A to the Rennick Edition, known as 207, 209, 211, 213, 215, 217, and 219 Man Street, and 206, 208, 212 Archer Street, and 214 Nathaniel McCoy Street. Lots 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4A, and 4B, Block 12, the Rennick Addition, known as 307 Archer, also known as 412 Russ Street. Lots 11B, 12B, 13B, Block 11, the Rennick Addition, known as 212 Dallas Street. Lots 11A, 12A, and 13A, Block 11, Rennick Addition, known as 210 Dallas Street. Lots 14C, 15C, and 16C, Block 11, the Rennick Addition, known as 204 Dallas Street. Lot 17, Block 11, the Rennick Addition, known as 202 Dallas Street, and Lot 18, Block 11, Rennick Addition, known as 200 Dallas Street. Shall be changed from R1B and R2 district classifications and be designated into O3 district classification, providing for penalties, providing serviceability clause, and defining and determine the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the land use designation change based on the following findings. One, that public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses, or provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed medium-density residential office flex. And there is medium-density residential office flex use in the vicinity of subject property. Plan Commission also recommended approval of the zone change based on the following findings. The proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as revised in the Imagine Waco Plan for Greater Downtown. The properties meet all the area size and width requirements for O3. The public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in O3 zoning. 4, there's O3 zoning in the vicinity of the subject properties. And 5, the proposed O3 zoning allows for compatible mixed uses that are consistent with the transition of the area.
All right, any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. I have one card from Paige Goedeker. I'm sure I'm not saying that name right, I'm sorry.
You are saying that right.
Okay.
My name is Paige Goedeker. I live at 210 Dallas Street. I'm a homeowner participant in this rezoning application. It has been a joy for me to live in East Waco for the last 5.5 years, and as our neighborhood changes with ever more development around Elm Avenue and Bridge Street, we and our neighbors feel that changing the zoning of our properties there to O3 will protect our investments in this great community for the years to come. Our 17-lot group rezoning request shows the like-mindedness of our immediate neighbors along with City Center Waco, who brought this application forward. We believe this rezoning request to O3 only makes sense for these couple blocks for a number of reasons. One, that these residential properties, which are currently zoned R1B and R2, are surrounded by commercial endeavors already. They are immediately bordering Lipsitz Recycling, as well as Lula Jane's, Brotherwell Brewing. Soon the hotels are coming. There's the farmer's market. And we have 3 churches there as well. And right in the middle of it all, there is a half block, which is currently zoned O3, currently zoned that way, under construction by Paul and Ann McCoy to become a ceramic studio and a fascinating retail space. And that is immediately behind my back fence. So my back fence and then a retail space. And so this is suggestive that this mixed use zoning to extend surround it makes quite a bit of sense. We are the first streets of houses in East Waco past the river from downtown. So we're on the edge of a real neighborhood, and in that way we are a transitional space from commercial into residential. And we also believe this rezoning makes sense because it's in line with what we have researched to be the Waco Comprehensive Plan 2040, which shows on the land use plan on map 3-5 that the intention is to move towards this medium-density residential office flex, including O3, in these blocks in particular. So we're glad to be able to request a change we believe to be in line with the city's own vision for our community. I have notes from 2 of my neighbors who are not able to be here tonight, and 2 sentences from each. One is Dr. Jim Pettit at 202 Dallas Street. He just wanted to say that given the huge hotel being built 2 blocks away, we all know that eventually these properties will likely be zoned for business, and he'd like to see current owners given the opportunity to stay as residential or transition to business as they see fit. And then neighbor Dana Marie Miller at 212 Dallas Street has just said that we think that this rezone will be coherent with what's being built around us, and she says, I have a pottery and textile business going in directly behind my home. This rezone will give me the flexibility to consider the possibility of expanding my own private practice and using my property both for residence for my family and to use my office building and for small retail, as well as possible community classes and workshops. So this would give us flexibility to grow with the neighborhood. Thank you very much for considering our request.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Goedeker? All right, is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval on first reading.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
wait.
Oops, sorry.
Wait.
I said it too quick.
Moving fast, sir.
Got a basketball game.
I know, I'm sorry. So I did want to make a comment about the, and
Wait just a minute. I'm sorry. Did you want to speak on this item? Yes, I did. Okay, I apologize. I did not see you. I will reopen the public hearing. I did not. You're all dressed in black. I couldn't see you. I'll reopen the public hearing. If you would give your name and address for the record.
Jeanette Bell, 228 Spring Street, Waco, 76704. I'm president of Northeast Riverside Neighborhood Association. We agree with this zoning because of I have researched the Imagine Waco plan again, and the Elm Avenue Improvement Plan, and the 2040 Consolidated Plan, and all of them suggest mixed-use development. We are for mixed use, especially in this area right here. But we also want to preserve the residential zoning in the area because there's a housing shortage and we need affordable, subsidized workforce, supportive housing. But we also need growth and development. So we are for the O3 zoning. We just want to protect the vested residents and the vested businesses. So, you know, it's a pretty good deal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I wanted to go a little slower. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing again, and we've got a motion and a second discussion.
Yes, sir. I wanted to bring light to the change in this zoning, this transitional zoning area. I think it would allow an opportunity to address one of our crises, which is a lack of housing. I think that because of its proximity to Elm, to MLK, and to the development that is happening along the river, allowing additional types of housing in that area would be beneficial. We do have an influx of people seeking live-work spaces, and I think that this particular area is adjacent and proximal enough to commercial corridors that it lends itself. I mean, it kind of is a middle passage, if you will, from heavy commercial industry and serve as a buffer to the neighborhoods. Now, with that said, this zoning does lend itself to short-term rentals by right. And in my district, I have said clearly that you know, I want to see more SR1s that are owner-occupied because those are people who are still engaged and involved within the community. But if, you know, we add this O3 zoning, then perhaps if any of the housing should turn to STRs, we have the ability to, you know, it's in one general location. And, you know, perhaps because of what we've heard from community, it wouldn't advance north into the residential, the deep, dense residential areas proper. I think that it will allow for the type of growth that we want to see. It will allow the advance in economic development that we hope to see, the mixed use bringing an opportunity to have commerce where one lives. And so for that, you know, I will support this zoning change because I think it has the ability to advance the community. I drove the footprint again. I've been driving it just to, you know, look at it and see where the lines are, and it makes sense as it is. So I'm hoping that with the development the City Center has in mind, with the already developed areas, that the neighbors who are sewing into the community and building businesses will continue to advance and do what they do. But at the end of the day, preserving neighborhoods is my priority. Advancing housing is a priority, and we're looking forward to building more homes within this community.
Any further discussion?
I want to thank Jeanette Bell for coming in and showing up and speaking tonight, because I was a little confused this afternoon. We had a little bit of dialogue. It was counterintuitive what we were doing to me, but after hearing, a little bit more about how this is supposed to work and the fact that it does have neighborhood support, I support the change as well.
Anything further? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Meek.
Yes.
Kennard. Sabido. Fairfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-103.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, provided that the code of ordinances of the city of Waco be amended by revising section 28-247 and chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as lots 8 and 9, block 1 of the Primrose Edition, known as 2014 and 2016 South 11th Street, shall be changed from C5 district classification and be designated into O2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. The proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. The public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in O2 zoning. The property meets all the area and width requirements for O2, and there is a O2 zoning adjacent to the subject property.
Any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. I don't have any cards. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-104.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed at certain property described as Lot 12, Block F, of Farm Lot 31, known as 2116-2122 Columbus Avenue, shall be changed from O3 district classification and be designated into O2 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining that the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. The proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan and the Imagine Waco plan for Greater Downtown. The public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in O2 zoning. The property meets all the area and width requirements for O2, and there is O2 zoning adjacent subject property.
All right, any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-105.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance abandoning a portion of a valley known as Burnett Avenue on South 8th Street and 9th Street and located between Ross Avenue and Clay Avenue, described as being a .082 acre right-of-way abandonment of a called 20-foot wide alley known as Burnett Avenue, located in the Thomas Jefferson Chambers Survey Abstract Number 7 in the city of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, requiring a wastewater easement either be retained or be relocated out of the abandoned right-of-way at developer's cost, and requiring an egress easement be dedicated through the property connecting to the remaining portion of the alley to 9th Street. Finding no duty to maintain, authorizing the city manager to execute quitclaim deeds, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. Plan Commission, by a vote of 6-0, recommended approval of abandonment based on the following findings. Public use of the right-of-way is not required for proper flow of traffic for emergency vehicle access to the area. The utility access for surrounding property is not adversely impacted by the abandonment of the right-of-way, and the abandonment provides better development opportunities for the property surrounding the subject alley. And then to reiterate the conditions, a 20-foot wastewater easement shall be retained for the existing sewer line located in the alleyway or be relocated out of the right-of-way at the developer's cost. and that the ingress egress easement shall be dedicated through the property connecting the remaining portion of the alley to 9th Street.
Okay, any questions for staff? I'll open a public hearing. We'll first hear from the applicant and any proponents, and then from any opponents, and then the applicant will have a chance for a brief rebuttal. I have Lisa Monroe as the applicant. Is that right? Or Jed, are you going to speak for Lisa or as the applicant's representative?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Jed Walker. I reside at 5 Hidden Creek, McGregor, Texas, and I'm representing the Waco Creative Arts Center and very much in favor of this request. As Clint, I think, very eloquently stated, the abandonment of the alley is going to be replaced with a public ingress-egress easement, and the easement will be moved over laterally so that it will provide for the construction and development of the Arts Center. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a card from Lisa Monroe. Do you want to speak, Lisa? Okay. Grant Dudley. You're good? This is good. Lance Magid. Bryant Stanton. Okay. Jim Dunham.
My name is Jim Dunham. A lot of people's prayers are getting answered because I'm losing my voice, I guess. I'm here for Matthew Campisi. He's a serviceman stationed in El Paso who owns land through which this property may impact his access to his property. There has been an agreement reached, and I want to make sure this is a record because Mr. Walker didn't mention it, but I do think we have an agreement. We reached it about 4:30 today that is going to provide an easement for access through an adjoining type piece of property. I have a copy of that easement. It was exchanged with Mr. Bo Ruth and I today. We talked all day about it. And this will allow my client and a neighbor, Mr. Barreto, the access so this won't interfere with their use, hopefully. So it's very important to my client because we've been here now 3 times to speak about this issue, that this is part of this deal. And Mr. Walker, and I trust him, he talked to the Planning Commission. He assured the commission that this deal would be reached and consummated. And I'm here to say it is. I do want to make sure somebody on the other side says this as well. I will tell you that this document, that they have a copy of the last draft too. We need to check the legal descriptions to make sure that all that's right. We didn't have time to do all that. It's my understanding that there'll be a separate easement document signed to Mr. and Mrs. Barreto, who is the other adjoining neighbor. And with that, our part is done. I appreciate the work of the staff and everybody trying to get this done. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And if not, I'll tell you 2 things I always heard when I was in a place like you. One is thank you for my service, your service. The other one is my taxes are too high.
Too late.
Can I leave this with somebody? I don't know if I can leave it with Mr. Peters.
Leave it with Glenn if you would.
Somebody, and Mr. Walker can verify that this is the correct draft and all that.
Okay. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this matter? If you would give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Councilman and Mayor Devers. My name is Andrew Lopez. I reside at 823 Clay Avenue. And I attended the meeting prior to this meeting, and I was happy to see that there was a egress that's going to be provided. It was never really an alley. If you think about it, I haven't seen an alley in the city of Waco that's been paved, curbed, and guttered. It's just one of those old streets that we've had here. So I want you to make clear that it was a street. The purpose of me coming here today is to find out exactly, is this ingress, egress, is this going to be available 24 hours? Because I use it, my neighbor uses it, and some of my other friends that live in the neighborhood also use it. That's one thing of contention. The second thing is, I'm kind of concerned about the city abandoning properties and streets and alleys, especially some of these streets. We're abandoning these things to, I guess, help the individual who's going to be utilizing it, but I don't want to see it where the city's abandoning streets like of this nature just so the owners have the availability to market it to someone else, where these streets do become a necessity to the developer or the person that owns it to sell it at a higher price. So I guess the question is, if this is permitted, which I'm pretty much in favor of, if this turns out to be something that the city abandons only to have the individuals market the property, are we going to continue giving away properties so developments or realtors can come in and say, not only do we have this piece of property, but we've also attained the accessibility of a street at no cost? That's pretty much my question to the City Council.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions? Didn't think so.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Saunders. My property is 701 South 9th Street, Waco, Texas 76706. I'm directly across from this alley. I use it all the time. I think with our traffic congestion that we have in Waco right now, it would be a really sad thing to abandon this alley. For one thing, the police officers, I've seen them go up and down there when they're checking on properties for mischief and stuff like that. And then there's the emergency vehicles. They can cut right through the alley if someone is in need of them, and they don't have to go to Ross or Clay all the way down to come up 9th Street or 8th Street. And I am totally against this. I mean, you're giving away our alley. I don't think you have the right to do that. And I'm totally opposed to it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? Mr. Walker, would you like a response?
Do I need to state my name again?
No. We got you.
Okay, so there's several things to respond to. One, with regards to Mr. Dunham, yes, we do concur with the agreement that was reached today. We had made it clear with the Planning Commission that we would reach an agreement before tonight's meeting, and that's been done. There's still a few I's to dot and T's to cross, but that document will be executed and it will be forthcoming. Okay. So that's item number one. Item number two, the alleyway that's being abandoned is going to be replaced with a public ingress-egress easement, and that public ingress-egress easement will be paved. It will be open 24/7, 365 days a year for the public to use. So there's not going to be an abandonment of an alley and something built on top of it. It's just going to be shifted horizontally. There still will be access.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Walker? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just one quick, so Clint, it's your understanding that that's all, like the picture that you had this afternoon where it just moves over a little bit is what everybody's understanding is, okay? And then, so if this will be finalized by the second reading, hopefully, all the documentation, and legal description, et cetera?
Yeah, the agreement that they were talking about is a private easement between the two parties. So
If it's a private easement, how is it dedicated to the public?
well, so there's two different easements. There's the easement that connects between 8th Street and 9th Street.
Okay.
Will be a public easement that goes through the Art Center. And then there's a private easement that will be dedicated from the Art Center to these two property owners that will connect to that.
Okay. Any further questions? Any further discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes?
Aye.
Meek?
Yes.
Kennard? Bearfield?
Yes.
Deaver?
Yes, that motion carries. Public hearing 2020-106.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco designating the property described as Lot 28, Block 3, the Bill Nielsen addition known as 716 East Pecan Avenue as a historic landmark, establishing design guidelines, regulating alteration or demolition, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 6-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the landmark designation based on the following findings. 1, designated as a priority 2 structure in the local survey of historic properties adopted by Waco City Council. 2, it embodies the distinctive characteristics of vernacular-styled residence associated with late 19th century architecture. And 3, it represents a distinctive and familiar visual feature of the city of Waco. This was also recommended by our Historic Landmark Preservation Commission by a vote of 8-0.
Okay. Any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this item?
Good evening, Nancy Grayson, 406 Elm. I'm just here to answer questions. Make your life short.
Okay.
It's 130 years old. Not me. End of tonight.
Any questions? All
I
right.
don't have any questions. I think Clint said in the discussion it was, if it wasn't the oldest, it's.
Well, I don't believe it's the oldest, but it is the only single-wall construction house they found still standing in Waco.
2 of them?
Second
Cool.
oldest, second oldest.
Second oldest, cool.
All right. Anyone else here who would like to speak on this item? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabito.
Yes.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. We have received a registration card for agenda item Resolution 2020-114. This is Michael, trying to read, Ash, Michael Ash, thank you. Is Michael here still?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Mike Ash, 1535 Camino Lago in Irving. I'm here representing JES Devco, the developer of Page Estates, one of the affordable housing tax credit projects we talked about earlier this afternoon. First off, I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Price, Mr. Peters, and Councilman Sabito. They have been accessible, they have been responsive, and they have been very direct to give me feedback about what the city was looking for with our project, and I appreciate that feedback. I also wanted to thank Mr. Lopez and the Downtown Neighborhood Association. He has been a fierce advocate for the neighborhood, hopefully for the project now, and I'm glad he has not been opposed to the project. I would not want to see that happen. We're here asking for a couple of resolutions that are before you tonight. I wanted to address a couple of the questions that came up this afternoon just to clarify. Mr. Price, I think, did a great job responding to those, but the ones I wanted to talk about specifically were the question about the developer quality. Our company has been in business as a developer for 20, 25 years for housing tax credits, as a construction company for 25 years, and as a management company for 20 years. We've got probably 200 projects that we have developed, affordable housing tax credit projects across the country. We've got 5 in Texas, Crandall, Salado, a couple in Lockhart, and Bastrop. I always forget Bastrop. I don't know why. It's the B word that always flummoxes me. They talked about the poverty rate resolution. And one thing I wanted to talk about there was that initially when we came to the market looking at that site, we had some concerns about the poverty rate in that census tract ourselves. But the more time we spent there and the more things we saw going on there, the more convinced we became that over time, and probably over time over the next 5 to 10 years, that neighborhood is going to change drastically. The poverty rate will drop, and a lot of the current residents in that neighborhood will be priced out, find themselves unavailable. So we hope that this project will serve that neighborhood and that market. There's one thing that I need to ask you that I'm not sure you can do or want to do. And I've talked with Mr. Price about this, with Councilman Sabito about this, and with City Attorney Ritchie about this. When we submitted our application, we requested an additional resolution that is not on the agenda before you tonight. I gave the resolution to the city attorney in between sessions to give her a chance just to catch up on it so I wouldn't totally ambush her here. Talked also with Councilman Sabito and Mr. Price. The resolution would be worth 2 points for us. And 2 points would be significant. Right now, we're in 4th place in the region. If we lost those 2 points, we would drop behind 2 projects in Temple and probably would not get credits. There's about $2 million in credits available in the region. One project will take 1.5, that's the maximum they can take. The resolution would just say that this development contributes more than any other development to the Waco concerted revitalization efforts. Again, I'm not sure you can do that or want to do that, but I'd request that if you support affordable housing, as I know you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any, question, can we amend this motion on this resolution to change it to this language if we want to?
The caption is very specific, and I don't believe that y'all could add that language to this, and I think staff, my understanding, and literally I just heard about this between the work session and business session, but I believe staff is not in support of adding that language as well, but I won't speak for staff.
Supportive or is not supportive? I didn't hear. Yeah.
Again, please.
Not supportive?
Okay. All right. Is there a motion on Resolution 2020-114? All right, we have a motion and a second on Resolution 2020-114 as written in the agenda. Is there any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. The consent agenda now consists of Resolution 2020-107 through 2020-133, with the exception of 2020-114, which we just voted on. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. We have 3 ordinances tonight. The first is on emergency reading, ordinance 2020-134.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, amending Sections 18-68 and 18-69 in Chapter 18 Personnel, Article 3, Division 1 of said code, providing that the city manager is authorized to adopt and execute a meet and confer agreement with the Waco Police Association governing the wages, benefits, working conditions, and operation of the City of Waco Police Department until such contract expires on September 30th, 2023. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, providing for inclusion in the code, finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed, open to the public as required by law, and declaring an emergency. This ordinance comes to you as an emergency, which requires 2 votes and the favorable vote of 3/4 of all council members qualified and serving.
Okay, is there a motion on the first vote?
Motion for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard. Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield. Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Is there a motion on the second vote?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes.
Kennard. Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. Ordinance 2020-135 on first reading.
An ordinance amending Chapter 13 Licenses, Permits, and Business Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, by amending portions of Article 8 Bed and Breakfast Facilities and Short-Term Rental Facilities to address length of license, density, and parking requirements. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for penalties, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
Okay, we've got several cards here. The first card is Andrew Lopez. Mr. Lopez, do you still have 10 people here that are willing to stand for you to get 10 minutes?
They believe in me. Can 10 stand or 12 down here?
All right.
Thank you for being so patient.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I get started, again, my name is Andrew Lopez, and I reside at 823 Clay Avenue, and I'm here representing the Downtown Neighborhood Association. I do have an issue with the way that this has been brought up because you have 4 different topics tied to one situation. It makes it very difficult to try to get that in 3 to 10 minutes. But let me start off by saying, I'm here to explain why the on-street parking should not be allowed in the city of Waco. As you saw, the folks that have been here, these are individuals that are from my neighborhood, that live on Clay Avenue. They also represent the Downtown Neighborhood Association, Alta Vista Neighborhood Association, residents of the Sanger Avenue Association, and my Northeast Waco president is here also. What I'd like to express is 2 years ago, I was on the committee helped creating the ordinances for the short-term rentals. We had several individuals that already operated short-term rentals on our board. Not a single one really had stated any concerns about on-street parking. They understood that these are businesses being placed in neighborhoods. They also agreed that each short-term rental must have one parking space for each room rented, not bedroom, room rented. And the problem with is the verbiage differs between short-term rentals ordinances and the university overlay. So there's differences that occur here that we're trying to lump into one, which I feel is unnecessary. Then that language needs to be addressed. Now, today the Planning Commission is seeking changes to these existing ordinances, which have already been agreed to by the Planning Commission and the City Council within the last year and a half. The problem that we have is that if there was another committee that was created, it was done without some of the community leaders present, without proper notification to those individuals living closest to these STRs. There's no consideration between the R1 zoning and the O2 zoning, which once again differ. The demographics that were showed earlier today are misleading and deceiving. And the reason for that is, if you notice, there was a number of people that were in favor of this, and I would suspect that the Planning Commission emailed as many of the STR owners that they were there. We only have 11 active neighborhood associations, and most of them don't even meet on a monthly basis. The problem that I had was when I was sent the survey, I was unable to, it was sent to some of my other members, which contacted me and told me that they couldn't open it up. So the question in my mind is, what's really most important here is how many homeowners next to STRs were emailed the survey? I don't think very many. But then again, that's the Planners Commission to tell you what they've done. We don't know who they've sent these to. But what we can show you, and what I've brought to you earlier, I brought you some information that was produced by the City Council at my request back in 2017. And in the planning services, in an informal report to the council, it stated that 40% of the single-family houses, and now this is in the overlay, the University Overlay District specifically, so you understand what I'm saying, that 40% of the single-family houses have either no off-street parking or limited access parking located at the rear of their property. Also, most of the houses do not have places to add off-street parking. Thus, the availability of on-street parking is important to provide adequate parking for the residents of these single-family homes. And as shown as Exhibit A, I've provided you with a map. You will notice the properties that are marked in X. These are the properties along Clay Street that do not have driveways or places to park. Their parking is the front of their home. The second thing I wanted to review in showing you, I've also included a protest list against the parking on Clay Avenue. These individuals are actual residents which live there more than 30 days, and there's 3 businesses that are also included with that. So between 8th Street and 11th Street, those are the individuals that have signed this petition. The second thing I want to get to, let me go back to my notes here. Those living in the downtown overlay have been disrupted for the past 5 years. We are subject to 108 average tourists per month, 150 contractors that work for the VA that come in 5 days a week, plus 40 additional contract labor people that are working on the VA regional office. These individuals take up 7th Street, 8th Street, and 9th Street. And this occurs 6 days a week, starting from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Now, the Planning Commission now wants to add additional vehicles to the streets that we already compete for, just so we can park in front of our own homes. Many of the residents and the businesses along Cray Street see this as a problem. The barbecue place, Mom and Pop's Barbecue, they have limited space for parking over there. Their customers come in and out and leave. They're not able to do that because the cars are parked there. Normally, the tourists park there for a good hour, hour and a half. The real problem is the other folks that are parking there from 7:30 in the morning to 6 or 4:30 in the afternoon, which doesn't make available parking very accessible to the people that actually live here. This problem, though, is not just happening in Waco. This problem is happening in many cities and many towns across the United States. And the biggest issue that we do have is having STR2s coming into city councils and trying to rebuke the ordinances that are already in place that residents have. Now, I am speaking directly about my particular neighborhood because that's the neighborhood I represent. But my question is, there's a lot of STRs out there, as you saw on the map, but that map is deceiving because, as one would find out, if you go to these sites, there's an average of 325 to 350 STRs listed for Waco. And right now, we probably have just over 125 that have licenses. It's not that we have a few bad apples in the crowd. We only have a few good apples that are following these guidelines. And if we continue to go with this, we're going to open up Pandora's box. I feel that we are at a crossroads right now. And that is, do we stand aside and make our own decisions to watch us create our own failures, or do we look at other cities that have already dealt with this and see how they're improving the situations that they've allowed to happen? And that's pretty much, the other thing was the O2 zoning. Again, in the O2 zoning at lot area, you have to have a particular size lot. And the majority of these lots that are in the overlay district, more than 40% of them, are substandard sizes. So I'm not sure why these STRs that have been passed were able to be passed without a variance, application for a variance on that. And the last part was something that I pulled out of the University Overlay District, and it stated that the home occupation shall be conducted in such manner that it does not create parking or traffic congestion for the abutting or adjoining neighbor or for the immediate neighborhood. So this is all none of my ideas or emotions or feelings. These are things that are written in the city, and our code ordinances and our languages that we have for the different types of areas that we have. I do want to caution, though, we need to look at all these ordinances and see why they're not connecting. One says 1 car per bedroom, another one says 1 car per room rented. So you can have a 3-bedroom, but if you rent out the living room, that means 4 cars, not 3.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you for your time.
Next is Dana Gage. And then Jill Barrett will be next after Ms. Gage.
Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Dana Gage. I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I operate a nonprofit there. And my son is a 2014 Baylor grad. He came to Waco and we fell in love with the town. And a few years later, we were able to purchase a property at 821 Clay Avenue. And it's been a great joy to own that property. We've renovated it from a dilapidated status and we now operate it as a short-term rental. And we've hosted 60 sets of guests from 25 states and 4 countries, and we love it. And we like seeing all the people who are coming to our city and enjoying it for the first time. I'm here to advocate for on-street parking. When my son started college in 2014, Clay Avenue was a very different street than it is now. It was definitely a sleeper street, and today it is quite busy and bustling. The block that Mr. Lopez lives on happens to be the same block that our property is located on, and on that block, it's the same block as the Findery, Mama and Papa B's, the Backyard. There are only 4 homes on that block, and 2 of those homes are short-term rentals. So the irony for my guests, they're coming to Waco for the first time, kind of expecting a fixer-upper experience, and they're renting our property. And the hard part for me is that our 1924 driveway is quite narrow. And we do comply. We make it very clear in our rental agreements that they must park in our driveway. And the problem is because the driveway is so narrow and Clay is so busy, they're backing out onto Clay. And I watch in cringeworthy status as these guys try to navigate the ongoing traffic. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when one of those cars gets hit. And so I am here to vigorously suggest that we approve on-street parking for the main artery streets. Ironically, there are people parked in front of our street anyway. It's just not the people who are paying to stay at my rental property. The main concern, as I've mentioned, is simply the safety of my guests. And on average, these guys are probably spending $300 to $500 per person in terms of economic development and contribution. And there's quite a few of them who come through our doors. So thank you for the opportunity to express my concern. I want to emphasize specifically it's regarding to safety and safety alone.
Thank you. Jill Barrett and then Vernon Davis will be next.
Hello, my name is Jill Barrett. I reside at 2700 Washington Avenue, 76710. And I want to address the R2 zoning issue. Is that okay to address in this moment? I'm not talking about on-street parking. Is that okay? Okay, I want to make sure it's all kind of lumped together. So I am here to speak about, well, first of all, let me back up. My husband and I own 4 short-term rentals, and I also served on the original committee that helped put the ordinance in place for short-term rentals in our city. And a couple of our properties are R2, and I know that it's being proposed to restrict the R2 zoning so that you have to have a 500-foot distance between different STRs. And I'm against that because I feel that these properties that are in R2 zoning are often already in a transitional or commercial or multi-use, multi-family neighborhood, and that they should be allowed to continue operating as such. If it was R1 and it goes through a different set of hoops to get the STR approval, then that's fine. But to go ahead and go back and change R2 when these properties are already operating in these multi-use neighborhoods, I think it's a mistake. For one, I feel like for us, I can speak for us, we have improved our properties drastically. We've spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars improving these properties that we own in these neighborhoods that would probably not have otherwise been improved. From a commercial standpoint, if there's a bunch of STRs and they don't, I feel like they're just going to get weeded out, and the ones that don't make it, and the ones that do are probably going to be a drastically improved property. And so if they decide not to be an STR, then great, you just have a new improved property in a neighborhood that may not have had that before. So I'm asking that you please not change that ordinance as it stands. I don't think that's a good idea. Thank you so much for your time and for hearing me out.
Thank you. Quick question for Jennifer, I guess, is if that changes, those that had already been approved would be grandfathered in that situation, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, thank you. Vernon Davis, and then Bill Wetterman is next.
My name is Vernon Davis. I live at 700 Columbus. I agree with Mr. Lopez. There's a lot to cover in a very short period of time. On-street parking in adjoining C3, C4 neighborhoods, we need to take a close look at that. I have a vacation short-term rental property across the street. Thanksgiving, there were 16 vehicles in a large motor home. There's only 8 parking spaces for a 6-bedroom, 3-bath house. They ended up parking illegally on private property and overflowing into the street, and it's an area that already, most of these vacation or short-term rentals are on the weekends. We have 2 churches, we have a major gaming business, and there's limited parking in that area. As far as the R2B, putting in the 500-foot radius, I feel that legal counsel needs to take in consideration Supreme Court decision of June 21st, 2019, in which Chief Justice Roberts and this the decision to overrule Washington County versus Hamilton Bank, which basically all the current Texas Municipal League and cities and states throughout the United States are basing their taking process on that old case, which forced all takings into state and local courts rather than going to the federal court, which is the taking of property is protected under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The enforcement of a 500-foot radius for vacation homes, in essence, grants a license to one property to make a profit over all of its neighbors. So putting in this 500-foot radius creates a devaluation of all the adjoining properties. I have 7 lots that I had planned to develop between Taylor, I-35, Peach, and Cherry, which now become valueless. Now, right now, the only properties that have been developed for single-family residential have been funded by quasi-government agencies, and I don't feel it's fair to take my property. Thank you.
Thank you. The last card I have is Bill Wetterman.
Bill Wetterman, 23951 I-35 West Texas. I'm here to address the issues with the C4 zoning and the condo conversions. There's some clarification. I think the council needs to make sure that they understand some of the concerns that y'all are trying to address or really already handled with state statute. When an individual buys a condo, they fall under a separate set of rules than a single-family traditional sale is. They must be provided with the association documents. They're given 7 days to review them before the contract can even be enforced. So when they enter into their sales contract and they purchase that agreement, they're already aware of what all the rules and requirements and regulations are that they're going to have to abide by. The city, and I understand the reasoning behind trying to make that part of the permitting process, but that's a private contract that the city's not a party to. That's the association and the condo owners. So if there's a violation of that agreement, that's between the association and the violator to enforce. I don't believe the city enforces any other deed restrictions or association requirements. I don't necessarily have an objection to what this wording is trying to accomplish, but I think that there's some redundancy here, and the state statutes already cover that and already protect the condo owners. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that this type transaction is a little bit different than what a typical fee simple single-family residential contract would require. or allow. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the cards I have. Is there a motion?
I have one more.
No, I'm sorry. You've already had 10 minutes to speak.
Oh, because she stood.
For the parking,
You have 10 minutes for the items, sir.
now on the 5-minute,
No, sir.
because it's government requirement.
No, sir. You have 10 minutes on the item.
4 items we cover in 10 minutes.
Is it,
I didn't get a card in, but I would like to speak as well. I
Did-
wasn't part of any other group.
did you have a card? I'm sorry.
I did not get a card, and I just realized this was on for tonight.
Did you stand up with, yeah, with Mr. Lopez?
I've not been familiar with any other group or person speaking about this until tonight.
All right, we'll allow you to have 3 minutes.
Thank you for your time. Paige Goodacre, 210 Dallas Street. I, like the lady and the gentleman who spoke before, I'm interested to speak in opposition to the proposed density requirement portion of this, the 500-foot radius for the R2 zoning. I'm interested in this as a Waco property owner. I purchased an investment property this past year in the R2 district with my husband after we received an early inheritance after my father passed. And we purchased this house knowing it would be eligible for a short-term rental type 2 by right, but haven't gotten the licensing up yet. And with this proposed density portion changing to 500 feet, it would mean that if we get licensed, our neighbor cannot also get licensed, or if they get licensed first, then we can't get licensed. And I'd just like to share with you what this conversation looks like on the ground between neighbors. I have had this conversation both ways with neighbors. It either looks like racing to get your application in to beat your neighbor to the punch so that you can actually make money on the investment property that you've purchased, which does not make for good neighbor relations. Or it means actually sitting down with your neighbor and saying, we desperately need this. We're gonna apply. I'm so sorry for what this means for you. I know you were trying, can we do it without you doing? And that's a big ask for a neighbor to say, can we make money? And you can't. I just wanted to say that R2 zoning is meant to be more flexible mixed-use residential zoning and keeping property owners from being able to short-term rent type to their property in the event that a neighbor as much as 3 doors down, 450 feet away, will create animosity, unnecessary animosity between neighbors, some of whom bought these property with the express assurance that they would have a short-term rental 2 by right. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, is there a motion?
I do have a question before we make a motion to our city attorney. Jennifer, it seems like the parking, there's a lot going on. I know there's a lot compacted in this ordinance. We can vote without the parking component, so it would be without section 13471B parking, number 3, correct?
I'm just making sure the number's right. It's, yes. You would, if you were to make that motion, you would vote for approval of all changes except 13-471B, the change in B3.
B3, right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then I want to make a motion to approve the ordinance without section 13471B3.
And just to be clear, you don't want the red line, the addition to that section, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I've got to read back through that. What would the effect be then, ultimately?
I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, what would the effect of that, what would the net effect of that be?
So if council were to approve the motion as stated, you would be passing the changes with adding R2 to the 500-foot buffer, and you would also be passing the changes with regards to the short-term rentals and the downtown overlay C4, that change, but you would not be, there would not be any exception for properties on collector and arterial streets for on-street parking. So there would still be a requirement for all STRs, there'd be no on-street parking.
Mayor, it'd also leave the part in about extending the license period from 1 year to 2 years.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Clint. Yes. So everything, every proposed change would be approved with the exception of the on-street parking requirement.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Kennard.
Yes.
Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. The ordinance passes with the exception of the on-street parking. Ordinance 2020-136.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, releasing a portion of the City of Waco's extraterritorial jurisdiction consisting of one, a 116-acre tract of land located in the Nancy Burwell Survey Abstract 88 and the James Stewart Survey Abstract 815, McLennan County, Texas, and being a portion of Pilgrim Lane, a variable width public road, no formal dedication found, a portion of a called 11.80 acre tract described in a deed to Jeffrey M. Lackmeyer, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2018-015-409 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. All of the 10-foot wide strip of land dedicated street right-of-way and a portion of lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 2, Kincannon addition to the City of Waco according to the plat thereof, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2014-023-172 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. All of a called 0.81 acre tract described in a deed to Anita Gay Bricker, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2008-016095 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. All of a called 1.000 acre tract described in a deed to Stormy R. Kincannon, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2011-028977 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, all of a 1.0 acre tract described in a deed to Anita Gay Bricker, recorded in volume 1789, page 595 of the deed records of McLennan County, Texas. A portion of a called 5.75 acre tract described in a deed to Anita Bricker, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2013-07484 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. A portion of a called 19.99 tract described in a deed to Billy Don Armstrong and wife Julie Armstrong, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2012-039710 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. All of a called 20-acre tract described as Tract 6 and a deed to Armstrong Family Partnership, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2009-006-533 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. A portion of a called 31.53 acre tract described as Tract 5 and said deed to Armstrong Family Partnership, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2009-006-533 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. A portion of a called 144.72 acre tract described in a deed to RKS Texas Instruments LP, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2012-019-521 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, and a portion of the Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railway of Texas right-of-way, 100-foot wide, to 88.46 acres of land situated in the E. Yeeman Survey, Abstract 956, McLennan County, Texas, embracing a portion of a called 220.377 acre tract conveyed to Laura Land Investments, LLC, in Clerk's File Number 2018-009246, official public records in McLennan County, Texas. A portion of a called 134.25 acre tract conveyed as Tract 4 to Diane Callan Braswell et al. In volume 1656, page 562, deed records in McLennan County, Texas, and a portion of Barnes Road and 52.63 acres of land situated in the James Stewart Survey, Abstract 816, and the E. Yeeman Survey, Abstract 957, McLennan County, Texas, embracing a portion of a called 259.19 acre tract conveyed to McKellar Group LLC in Clerk's File 2005-001-937, official public records of McLennan County, Texas, providing a severability clause and finding and determining the meaning at which this ordinance is passed, is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on February 4th, 2020.
All right, is there a motion?
Move approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek. Yes. Kennard. Sabido.
Yes.
Bearfield. Deaver.
Yes, that motion carries. We will now open the hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for any citizen to present concerns or address issues that are not matters for consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitation, a microphone is available to be brought to you. I have two cards tonight. First is Alan Northcutt.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Alan Northcutt, 619 Stone Manor Drive, McGregor, which is in Waco, Precinct 5. Have something positive to say tonight. I'd like to compliment the city for its decision to purchase 100% renewable clean energy in its 2022 energy contract, as stated in the agenda packet. And also, it's clear that inspiration and the impetus for this decision started with the people of Waco. A little bit about that history. Almost exactly 2 years ago, we made a presentation here calling for 100% renewable energy for 2025. Actually, the city beat this by 3 years. Subsequently, at the Sustainability Board in 2018, we showed that at that time, utility-scale solar and wind were cheaper than combined cycle natural gas. However, about a year ago, unfortunately, so-called energy consultant Brian Shaw was hired, and this is all in your handout. He made statements to the council indicating that he denied modern climate science. And he made a statement, and I quote, "Current technology will not allow 100% replacement of fossil fuels." So many cities in the U.S., some countries, and now the city of Waco has proved that to be false. And I mention that because going forward, the city should take his report with a grain of salt. He certainly doesn't understand the urgency of dealing with the climate crisis because he's a climate denier. So let me say that, yes, certainly cost plays a role in this, but remember that the beginning this whole movement to renewable energy, clean transportation, was because of the climate crisis. In your handout, there's a quote from the Department of Defense back in 2014 stating, "Climate change will likely lead to food and water shortages, pandemic disease, disputes over refugees, and natural disasters in regions across the globe." And we're seeing that right now, the incineration of Australia. And in Waco, we expect to be especially affected by high temperatures, drought, crop failure, flooding, and even possibly climate refugees. So I think this is a good start, but I would note that his report only talks about decarbonization of the city. That's only half the picture. We have to have measures to deal with decarbonization of citizens and businesses in Waco. So that's an important point to keep in mind. And also, we still do believe that to get this complex goal accomplished by 2050, as the science requires, we need an assistant city manager for sustainability and climate. Thank you.
Thank you. The next card is Chandler Evans. Is Chandler here? I believe he left. And then I have a card from Ephraim Herring.
Mayor, council's going to have to take a vote to extend the meeting past 8:30.
Thank you. Is there a motion to extend the meeting to 8:45?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes?
Aye.
Meek?
Yes.
Kennard? Sabido?
Yes.
Fairfield?
Yes.
Deaver?
Yes, the motion carries. The meeting will be extended to no later than 8:45. Mr. Herring.
My name's Ephraim Herring, retired Navy. I live at 1046 Chestnut, also 1044 Chestnut. 2001, I bought the property at 1044 Chestnut. Matter of fact, my mom bought property at 1046 Chestnut in 1993. We bought property here in Waco way before this, wherever silo deal took place. So I'm coming to you today on October 15, 2015, I signed a contract with Wade Butler. And then on October 19, 2015, your water department told me that they denied, matter of fact, Wade Butler told me they denied him a permit for a water tap line. So while talking to him, I got the impression from your water department that Mr. Butler did not know the regulations and rules of the city. So, you know, I went with the water department, and they came up and said, NeighborWorks Waco is who y'all recommended. I said, okay. You know, I'm in Waxahachie. I got to take care of things in Waxahachie because my mother already is sick. She already been in the hospital 3 times already. So I said, okay, I'll go with them because I'm tired of doing this up and down. So then, problem started. Got a ton of emails, got a ton of pictures. But let's go back to here. On 7/24/2017, you passed if you look at this drawing here, every contractor's got to submit a drawing to your planning commission. I did research in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, same thing. So you got a plastic plan here to get the house built. That house site plan looks nothing like this. Nothing like this. Okay? Now, in order to do change plans, you got to submit a plan. So I'm wondering, did NeighborWorks Waco submit a plan to y'all plan department to change, and who gave them authorization on your plan department to pass this? Because I looked at it, this drawing by itself is in violation of your own access to alley. So who approved it? I came by the manager, Mr. Steen's office there. I set up an appointment with Wally Steen because right now I feel that like y'all been totally unfair to me, and I'm trying to figure out why. I looked at it. NeighborWorks Waco, the houses, all of them got driveways of concrete. Every last one of them. All the houses you passed in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, East Waco, except one, meets all the requirements. And there's one on Riddick that doesn't. So I'm wondering who built that. So my question to y'all is y'all discriminating against me because I made an arrest and put their jail on one of their contractors? Or is this because of the color of my skin? And I'm asking this question. Who gave the authorization to change my drawing that I approved? God bless you and have a safe day.
Thank you. I have one more card from Andrew Lopez.
Yes, I know, don't speak about the same topic.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you once again, Andrew Lopez, 823 Clay. First, I want to say to the new members of our council and our existing members, thank you for paying attention to the new things that are happening in Waco. I'm all for development, but we can't rush and make decisions that we have to come back and correct later. I will continue to keep you informed of the things that I know that's happening around the country and in our town and how it affects us. Second, the rules, speaking time. As we saw here today, I brought my group here, I spoke, and then we had a group prior to us that took nearly 50 minutes. Many of them did not have cards that filled out, some that did. But I would like to ask the city council to start looking at this and saying, listen, if we have 10 or more cards, you need to ask them to pick a single speaker so these things don't go as far. As you saw, many of my folks were elderly, and they got very tired sitting here waiting. So maybe we should be taking some of these things when the people show up, take those first, let them go, and then do resolutions and so forth later. The last thing I want to ask from the city council members is, in the future, can you consider, you have 2 choices for the planning commission, to sit on the planning commission. Could you possibly make sure that one of them belongs to the neighborhood association that they represent? That's all I ask. Thank you again for your time, and I know everybody wants to go home.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right. Is there anyone else present who would like to address the council?
Sorry about that. Cecil McDowell, 2036 King Cole Drive, Waco, Texas. I live at, Okay, I come just for one concern. It started in April 2019. I was concerned about Metro Street behind Sharondale, where the water runs down the drain and it go all out in the streets, and it comes back in the neighborhood, all behind Sharondale. Some of the city engineers, we met out there, about 10 of them, I think it's about 10, 11. Anyway, we was out there meeting, and we never heard anything, especially from Mrs. Highland. Is she still employed? We don't know. That's fine. Anyway, several times we tried to call her, didn't get an answer, then call back, and I'd like for you to follow up on it. And I'd like for you to look and see if we can put this in the budget next year, that we be able to fix a pretty drainage out there where that water can go straight down instead of back up in the neighborhood. If we can do that, can we go another year? Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who would like to address the council? Anyone? We'll close the hearing of visitors. Are there any council member reports on committees or boards or commission liaison visits? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 8:36. Thank you.